This season marks a new beginning. Witness the raw power, iconic sound, and pure speed from the historic Lotus 79. Experience the competition and glory days of early 80s open-wheel action. Watch as drivers wrestle these ground effects cars into submission. Drivers will face off wheel to wheel. For some, it's a chance at redemption. For others, an opportunity to make a statement. All sharing the same goal, to be crowned champion. Who will be victorious tonight? The Lionheart Retro Series presented by DMLC Racing Channel starts now.
We are all gamers, and HyperX is always ready to game. Competition, commitment, excitement. This is Lionheart from Worldwide Technology Raceway. It's time for the Global SimRacing Channel's coverage of the Lionheart Retro Series Season 4 Championship presented by the DMLC Racing Channel. Tonight, the HyperX Gateway 150 and all of our simulated retro Lotus 79 action from the green flag to the victory donuts will come your way live as it happens right here on the iRacing Esports Network. From the Gateway to the West, welcome to another GSRC broadcast and the Sim Experience Countdown to the Green. Alongside the banker Brian Yatzik, I'm Jason Galvin, joining you up in the virtual press box for tonight's HyperX Gateway 150. Sean Ambrose is directing. All the great camera angles come courtesy of our good friend, Dougie Beer. Worldwide Technology Raceway was once the forgotten son of oval tracks in the United States. But when Curtis Francois and Chris Blair stepped in, this uniquely shaped track east of St. Louis quickly got its mojo back and now is a premier destination for motorsports fans of all kinds. Let's take a spin through the GSRC track guide.
Worldwide Technology Raceway, a speedway born out of the speedway boom of the 90s. More colloquially known as Gateway, the track sits in Madison, Illinois, just on the other side of the mighty Mississippi, from St. Louis and its famous arch. And like that arch, Gateway has become a passage to the western United States for many series calendars. The facility itself opened in 1967 for drag racing, but the changes started in the mid-90s when the land was raised and the rebuilding began. As part of the rebuilding, a 1.6-mile road course was built inside and using part of the 1.25-mile track we are here for today. It's egg-shaped and differing ends in both radius and banking is a challenge for anyone trying to set up a car here. Even though the banking itself isn't too different, 11 degrees in 1 and 2 and 9 degrees in 3 and 4, the radius of 3 and 4 is much wider, so you carry a lot of speed down that front straightaway, which has led to some drama and classic finishes over the years in iRacing and on the real-life track. IndyCar returned here in 2017 after 14 years away, and in a short amount of time has become a coveted spot on that schedule. The NASCAR trucks also make a regular trip here every single year. ARCA is more off and on, and we'll sometimes get some late model and super late model action here with more regional series. Now, with downtown St. Louis and the Gateway Arch as a backdrop, it's getting time to drop the green flag at Worldwide Technology Raceway.
And we welcome in my broadcast partner once again for the night, Brian Yatzik. Yes, Gateway, as many know this place, of course, is the definition, quite literally, of a driver's track. Two distinctly different ends of this speedway, and both corners kind of offer a different strategy play from the cockpit as well.
You're absolutely right. Hello, welcome everybody to another broadcast here. Yeah, I've always maintained that Gateway is kind of the Midwest version of Darlington. When you kind of look at the two from an overhead standpoint, The two tracks do share a very same overview, just kind of flip the other way around. But we are at a 1.25 mile speedway here tonight, 4 turns. Obviously, for all of our favorite oval people, I don't think they're going to add a 5th one. But hey, with 2020, you never quite know what's going to happen. We're bulldozing California to build a short track. 9 to 11 degrees of banking all over the corners. It really is a fun track. You have options as the run moves on, though, with these high downforce, low horsepower engines. You're going to notice a very, very similar groove in turns 1 and 2. Going to be high, wide, and handsome through there. Anybody that's going to try to dive to the bottom, really going to have to make it stick or try a very aggressive slide job. And with that breeze rolling in and blowing directly on the front noses of these cars as they exit turn 2, Jason, that's just going to be a whole lot of fun. But let me tell you what, it's not as fun as hanging on to a AccuForce Pro V2 system. And remember, the countdown to green is brought to you by the SimExperience AccuForce steering system. The most advanced tuning features on the market. The AccuForce Direct Drive is second only to the real thing. To check out the entire SimExperience line of products, head on over to simexperience.com.
Let's take a look at our point standings coming into this one. And we'll start with the championship standings presented by our friends at the DMLC Racing Channel. And your points leader is Ryan Otis. I had to double check myself there. Ryan Otis, your points leader by 63 over 1 Sage Karam coming into this one tonight. Boy, here's an interesting note. Sage Karam is one of 2 drivers using a real-life spotter in this one. Let's see how that plays out. Tommy Ryan's the other one. Little Train sits in 3rd. Dustin Wardlow, the Candyman, is up to 4th on the strength of a couple nice runs here over the last 2 races. And Aaron Morgan, with some bad luck getting taken out at Iowa late in the race, falls down to 5th. Let's slide over. HyperX will bring you the Lionheart Retro Series team standings in this one. And there's not much of a story at the top of this one. The team of Wardlow, Otis, and Paulson, Raven Motorsports Black, as they've dubbed themselves, have a commanding 282-point lead. It's a formality at this point as far as the championship goes. Now, Raven Motorsports Silver with Sage Karam carrying the flag there. Travis Jagerliner and George Anzaldo. They've started to open up a gap over Avatar Auto Racing, who's on the move. Look at that. Up to P3 around Senrock Esports. Technically, they are in a tie right now, but it looks like the racing admin gods have currently given the tie goes to the team that starts with an A, Avatar Auto Racing.
I mean, when in doubt, alphabetical order. I mean,
right, hey,
easy way around
the easiest thing, right? Yeah. I mean, it keeps you and I from having to count because we can both get to A in the ABCs. So
well, it makes it real easy, but it does give me nightmares of childhood when they lined us up by alphabetical order by our last names. And,
yes.
Yeah, those were never my fun days. But
were you always
better
the
days.
Tallest one and the last one then?
Yeah, and the fattest one too. So that was, you know.
Oh, okay. Well, the trifecta.
I had my own triple crown. Anyways, speaking of getting back onto things here, let's go and take a look at the rookie standings brought to us by Buttkicker. There you see classy Jason Bossy up there in the top pedestal, keeping that spot nice and warm, but if he doesn't look too far back, that's where Tommy Ryan is going to be, making 3 spots. Yes, 3 jumps up into that second spot with Richie Hearn just 4 markers back and 1 marker back off of him, Chris Reagan. That has been the battle all season long. I think I've been talking about it in every intro for at least the last 8 races. This is what happens when you get a good group of drivers with about the same talent level and they all find that success. So what you're seeing throughout this year, they're really hard to get apart from each other because these guys run all within the same price, 7 spots of each other, the whole race and almost all season. And you're seeing that reflect on the point standings for the rookie battle. I'm probably going to say that next week, or next race, so we can go ahead and just bookmark that. And I'm probably going to end up saying that when we wrap this shindig up here in Auto Club in a couple weeks.
At the short track?
Yeah, that short track out there.
You said you were going to bulldoze California at the start of the show, and I got all excited. And then I realized you were talking about the racetrack. So.
Yeah.
California resident here. I can say that. Where are we at as we get ready to go? Qualifying coming up. That's what I thought. We are just about ready to flip over from practice to Qualifying. Feels like it's a good time to tell you the Lionheart Racing Series, powered by our good friends HyperX, and it is the premier open wheel racing league on iRacing with the Lionheart IndyCar Series presented by First Medical Equipment, and tonight's featured series, the Retro Series, presented by the DMLC Racing Channel. Both, of course, race in memory of the late, great Dan Weldon, known as Lionheart. Qualifying for tonight's Gateway 150 is underway. And why don't we take a look at our series details while we roll through qualifying?
Let's get that done. Get this out of the way. Season 4 series details here for Lionheart Retro Series. And these details are, as always, brought to us by Minus 273, the premier name in karting gloves. Industry-leading gloves, super lightweight and durable, made of breathable poly spandex. Whether you're a kart or a sim racer, Minus 273 gives you the control to reach victory lane. For more information on Minus 273's full line of gloves and apparel, visit minus273.biz. And don't forget about the promo code Minus 273 LHRS 15 for a whopping 15% off your order. Minus 273, those gloves have been in victory lane in both series of the Lionheart Racing season here. So here we go, round 13 of 18, 2 drops. We talk about that every single time, but hey, you know, it's important, especially for the first-time viewers here. The Lotus 79, we've got 27 of the old ground pounder designs, the old 1979 Formula One entries. Adjusted fix setup by the setup guru of Lionheart, the one and only Andrew Kinsella. The cash prizes of $6,671.
Ryan Otis currently sits atop the standings here in qualifying as you take a look at the defending series champion. Look, Ryan is so eloquent. I always say the reason Ryan Otis is so good is that he treats that race car like he owns it and has to pay to replace it. And so much so that at the end of qualifying, he still felt like he was obligated to bring it back to pit road so his crew didn't have to wait for the tow truck to bring it back. That was so nice of him.
I just considerate driving in this time frame. I do the same thing. You shoot those or shut the qualifying lap down, roll around. It's fun. And then they put in those penalty system. And that chases you off the track really fast.
In official races, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, just coasting around, having fun. Sometimes it's nice to take that scenery in. And it's also, on those cool down laps, especially, as with these Dynamics guys and as we're starting to get later into the time frame here of the evening. Yes, there we go. Take a look at the weather there. Part cloudy, 75. Air temp, track temp, hanging out there, 78 degrees. 56% humidity. That's a pretty solid Midwest day. But
I'm gonna say 56. Boy, it's nice out in the Midwest, huh?
But on that cool down lap, as these shadows grow longer and track changes, maybe you spot something a little different, or something or something that at least is worth tucking away in the memory bank for about the next time that you're going to go screaming through that corner at about $1.50. So it could be worth just taking in the scenery a little bit, smelling the roses.
I got to tell you, qualifying has been immensely compelling so far. First off, at the top, you've got Ryan Otis ahead of Sage Karam right now, as Ryan Otis looks to hang on and pick up what would be the 11th pole of his Retro Series career. Guess who that would put him around in the career rankings? Sage Karam, who also has 10. The all-time leader, of course, is Alex Saunders with 14. And Otis right now ahead of Karam, and Mike Rasmus, the rookie, the newcomer, who has been so darn good since he showed up here, currently sits in P3 with about 30 seconds left. And I don't think there's really anybody else making laps here. So this is pretty much going to be how we line up. Mike Rasmus, of course, still looking for his first win with 4 top 5s in 6 starts, 5 top 10s, and just about stole one at Iowa. Mike ran about 49 miles longer than anybody's ever run in the history of that track. And he needed to get to 52. but darn, it was close. And qualifying is over. Yeah, and I was going to say, the reason I say qualifying is awfully compelling, though, wait till you see as we go to our starting lineup here, the race cars that are farther back for this one. Let's take a look at your starting grid, and it is Ryan Lotus for the 11th time in his career, capturing the first position. Your points leader, your defending series champion, a 28.942 second lap, and that is, believe it or not, the slowest pole time in series history here by almost 0.2 of a second. Sage Karam is second. Mike Rasmus and Aaron Morgan in row 2. Then it's Chris Fowler and Classy Jason Bossi in row 3. Trevor Malone, and here's where business starts to pick up. David Clymer starts in the 8th position. Paul Jenkins and Mike Rigney in row 5, and Brian Yatzik, look who starts on the inside of row 6.
Or the inside of row 6, the Candyman can. It's Dustin Wardlow there with George Anzaldo, series founder. The outside row 7 is made up of Ricky Hart, Dean Mardi Gras Mall. Keep an eye on that row. Those two drivers do have a way to sneak to the front of these fields in races like this. Row 8 going to Matt Taylor, Bobby Mikes. The 9th row going to Ryan Corns, Chris Tagg, and Tyson Landis, James Paulson round out the 19th and 20th spot, respectively.
Tommy Ryan and Matt Houston back there in row 11. Then it's the cars who didn't qualify. Little Train, Lionel Callisto, Scott Holmes, Vinny DeCunha, Richie Hearn, Sam Crow, 27. Lotus 79s will take the grid here in about 10 seconds or so. They will start rolling off. Brian, 3 races in the Retro Series history here at Gateway. Adam Blocker captured the first one over Joe Hassert. And in Season 2, it was Blocker again in a photo finish by 16 thousandths of a second over Jake Wright. Last year, it was the Watchman, Mark Cohn, now the series sponsor and race control director, who held off the man that you're riding on board with right now, the Candyman, Dustin Wardlow, in a race that finished under yellow. And Dustin will run the Pit Lane Parlay on board here for this one. The best podcast for exclusive IndyCar content year-round can be found at pitlaneparlay.com.
Boy, Jason leaving me with a hard intro there. Chris Fowler with the HyperX camera. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers. Use promo code LionHRT15 at hyperxgaming.com.
Mike Rigney is in the Asher's Racing on board here. Nope, he's in another HyperX one. I'm sorry, my script was a little off there. If any sponsor merits 2 onboard cameras, it's HyperX, right? Of course. And the final onboard, yes.
That goes to Sim Experience with George Anzaldo, second only to the real thing, simexperience.com.
Here we go at Gateway. 120 laps, 150 miles. Green flag is out, and Ryan Otis brings us down the front straightaway into turn 1, and they're 2x2 all the way back behind Sage Karam.
Beautiful angle watching everybody fan out down the backstretch, side by side back here. It's a battle hovering around Aaron Morgan, Sage Karam. Ryan Otis out front on a turn 4, watching it all transpire in his mirror in the safest spot in all of Gateway.
Clean and green here on lap number 1 at Worldwide Technology Raceway, Gateway Motorsports Park. Otis already starting to check out a little bit here from Sage Karam. It's interesting to note, yeah, as we mentioned, pole time was the slowest in series history here at Gateway. Well, also, we had heard reports from before this race that perhaps the setup this year would be a little less I don't want to say racy, but a little more technical, where you wouldn't just be able to draft up like you have in years past, especially in turns 3 and 4. We mentioned that photo finish in season 2 comes to mind, where the second place car could really get a great run off of turn 2 and just flat-footed all the way around. And by the time you got to the exit of turn 4, it was kind of like a drag race down the front straightaway. Well, so far here in this one, and we're only a couple laps in, it certainly looks like you're not going to be able to just run right up on the leader and blow by him, yes?
No, it definitely looks like everybody's kind of falling in line, because I feel like drivers that have been around kind of know that maybe this is a little different, so it might be worth feeling out. But I'll tell you what, Mike Rasmus, he's going, well, there's a car in front of me. I'm going to go pass it. So there you see that move right there from the bottom, sweeping up to the exit of 2, move Mike Rasmus up a spot into the top 5 at the cost of Chris Fowler. But yeah, Jason, we're not seeing those runs like we've seen in years past, but you do see a stack up right there as you see Rigney going to try to capitalize on David Clymer's misfortune. Clymer get checked up behind Fowler right in front of him, and then that let just Rigney roll by on the top side. But Gateway, you can always kind of defend from the top, but you have to have a good enough run off the corner to make it stick down into 3.
Mike Rasmus, you mentioned in the 5th spot, actually started 3rd, fell back a couple of spots, and has had to recover since the start of this one. And this is David Clymer trying to work his way around Mike Rigney.
Let's wander the camera back a little bit. You got Paul Jenkins, Ricky Hart, Dean Ball. This is a hornet's nest of battle going on back here for the 12th spot. Jenkins has it, but he's looking in his mirror. Bunch of hungry dogs behind him chasing. There you see Matt Taylor. Yeah, Matt Taylor made a whole lot of noise very early on in his Lionheart career. Look at this. He got about 6-7 cars all within a very, very tight span of each other. This is where you're probably going to see any kind of aero insensitivity issues start to rear their ugly head.
Yeah, Matt Taylor already excited because he's gotten farther than he did in the last round. Did somebody just bounce off the wall back there?
Yeah, there was 2 of them. I think it may have been Matt Taylor on the outside, or if it wasn't that, it was very, very close. But I double check on the other car. That was
Paulson.
Yes.
James Paulson definitely got a piece of it. Taylor was close. Paulson connected.
Problems at turn 1. Put it out. It's the 7 machine buried in the fence up there.
Boy, Chris Tagg. Oh, and he just lost it, and Matt Taylor's going to get a big piece of it. Wow, that was aggressive, Yaz. That car just snapped.
Well, you know, and I'm watching Chris Tagg, go off into turn 1, and I'm just having just a nightmare flashback to the last time I ran this series in this car. The exact same thing happened to me in the exact same spot on the track. Turn 1, the curvature of turn 1 makes you, as an oval driver, you want to have to lift to try to make that work, especially because you don't have the downforce to make it work. But the problem is the teeter-totter effect. When you kind of break the throttle on these Lotus 79s, the rear becomes so unstable. So you factor that in with the fact that turn into turn 1 is kind of downhill. And you kind of see the recipe for disaster is Ryan Otis is going to head to pit road. He's going to bring Mike Rasmus with him.
We are already in the pit window, believe it or not. The pit window basically opened on lap 5. And so now it'll be a strategy play for everybody else. I'm checking Matt Taylor's car, and I don't see damage, but boy, on the replay, he takes a visible shot. It moves the car. Normally, with netcode incidents here on iRacing, it doesn't move the race car. You drive right through it. And I know that was part of the most recent build, which came out a week ago. So this is the first time we're getting to see this here in the Lionheart series, where it was supposed to kind of cut down on that. Basically, if you drive into a crash, you won't netcode through it as much to make it a little more realistic. Well, it kind of worked there. I guess we'll find out when we get going whether Matt Taylor's got any issues or not. Meanwhile, up front, Sage Karam is your new leader, as he did not pit. And now we're going to have vastly different strategies. And why don't we take a look at our Buttkicker race analysis if we can, so you can understand exactly what we are talking about here. in the Retro Series at Gateway. This is a 120 lap race with a maximum fuel stint of 58 laps. Now remember, that's usually counted in single car, so you've got to figure there's a couple laps maybe to be had in the draft, at least 1 or 2 behind them, which means it might be possible, might I say, to one-stop this race, depending on how many cautions you get. And so now the game becomes, do I want to play the caution game, which is what it looks like Sage Karam and Aaron Morgan and Jason Fossey et al. Might be doing all the way back to 14th? Or do you want to play it safe like Ryan Otis and everybody behind him just did, 15th on back, and pit as they did, and know that you are now just one stop away no matter what else happens in this race, Brian Yazik?
Give me the one stop. It's kind of as simple as it is. I mean, with these machines and that pit road delta, and the other thing that we always see here at Gateway, under green flag pit stops, someone inevitably biffs it on pit road exit. That's going to throw off a caution. And I think you want to be on that one-stop strategy versus the two-stop strategy, or at least be on a spot that you could run a lot further in case that does happen. They're working their way into turn 3. Get ready to re-rack them and stack them. Sage Karam out front behind the Ford Mustang.
Ace Car peels off, and Sage Karam will hold them back, and now he's on it. Off of turn 4, green flag flies, and let's watch for the checkup. The back of the pack, look at them start scrambling, Brian.
Yeah, you saw that. There's one machine to really keep an eye on back there through that, and Ryan Otis. Because now you got to work your way through there. You go from clean air to now kind of back into it. Those stack ups and those checkups, those are going to be, basically rolling landmines that now Otis is going to have to contend with. See, this is, the yin to the yang to that early stop strategy.
Otis is way up the racetrack, searching for clean air and a run down the front straight. Restarted in 15th.
I was just informed the pace car driver tonight, Jason Gallery, aware of what Kenny Wallace. Don't ask me how we got him to the pace car. We got Kenny Wallace in the pace car tonight.
Really?
St. Louis native,
Yeah.
He's probably hanging out. There wasn't a dirt track race going on tonight, so.
Kenny hung out with me at Gateway last year for the NHRA races down on the top end for an entire round of qualifying. So he absolutely loved it. Then I tried to get him into a top fuel car, and he said, absolutely not. Well, it's worth a shot.
I'd love to sit down and watch a motorsport debate between Kenny Wallace and John Force, because you'd have to have the TV on about level 1, and you'd still hear it clear as day. On board there, we were looking on board with George Ansaldo. Jason and I were recanting old stories. Oh, turn 1!
Hang on, baby! Whoa! Holy smokes! Have you ever, Brian Yazik?
I'll tell you what.
Mike Rigney, get your Depends ready, bud. You're going to need new ones. Woo!
Wow. He was dead to rights to the left and somehow brought that machine
and
back.
This car does not like to power slide like that, Brian. Usually if you get too much wheel to the right, it just hooks and you hard ride it into the wall. And man, he saved it as we check back in on David Clymer and the Candyman, Dustin Wardlow. Pit lane parlay onboard camera here for the Candyman, Dustin Wardlow, out of Bakersfield, and Dustin asked me to send a special hello to his buddy Reese, who's over hanging out at the house in Northwest Bakersfield tonight, I guess.
Hey, Reese.
And is watching the broadcast in Dustin's office. Dustin has a sweet office, just throw that out there, between his part-time escapades as the single greatest cover of rock songs on the internet and his iRacing setup. That's an office you want to hang out in.
I just imagine it would just smell like an old library, you know, but like a good, like I'm in a good spot.
What are you talking about? It smells like the Wars peanut butter chews. Come on, man.
A classy establishment is kind of where I was going there.
It's classy and filled with the Wars chews. It's phenomenal.
Well, that's my kind of place.
It's a happy place. And if you're a whiskey drinker, let me tell you, Dustin's a connoisseur. It's a good combo. Trust me.
Let me tell you what. You could leave me in a room with $10,000 cash, and I guarantee you every penny will be back to you. You leave me in a room full of Dewars candy, that's your mistake.
Feel you on that one.
Matt Taylor, several trips on and off pit road, 5 laps down. I know, Jason, we are going to talk about that with the kind of with the carnage of the first accident. I believe he didn't get off as lucky as we thought he may have.
Right, and you know, here's where I'll say kudos to iRacing as a service, Brian, because they take a lot of heat over the years for damage models and net code, and sometimes rightfully so. And I'll be the first to tell you, I was the victim of a massive example of that in the last IndyCar race we had in Lionheart at Iowa a couple of weeks ago. But the latest update, this appears to be one big check mark in the win column for iRacing, because Matt pretty clearly took a big hit on the left front tire and did not get away with what would normally be a net coding through an incident, and also appears to have sustained some real damage to the race car. Not just visible net code damage as we know it, but apparently real mechanical damage to the car that he very much should have gotten. It's unfortunate he did nothing wrong, but iRacing strives to be realistic, Brian, and part of realism in auto racing is accidents are going to happen that you are not going to be able to avoid. So kudos to them for what appears to be a big win in the column of how the latest update would perform, at least here with the Lotus 79 on ovals.
Well, and you know, just as well as I do, Jason, on these open wheel cars, net code seems to be more prevalent because you don't have those fenders to overhang and make life kind of give you a little bit of a chance on it. So to kind of see that immediately through, it's in that hot topic of a debate, it's kind of got a nice passing check mark for me right now.
Absolutely, absolutely. Sage Karam out in front, still leading the way here as we come around, and this will click off and start lap number 25 here at Gateway Worldwide Technology Raceway. It means we have 96 laps left in the Gateway 150, HyperX Gateway 150 here at Gateway Motorsports Park, and it is currently Sage Karam leading Aaron Morgan by about 3/4 of a second. Same distance back to Classy Jason Bossi in third. Then it's David Clymer and the Candyman, Dustin Wardlow in the top 5. And Brian, it's very interesting to me as you look through the top 5 or 6 here back to Chris Fowler. Everybody's kind of got the same gap between them, somewhere between 6 and 8/10 of a second or so. And then it starts to close up a little more the farther back that you get. And speaking of farther back you get, here is Chris Fowler, who has George and Zaldo behind him. George is up 5 spots, and then Trevor Malone, Paul Jenkins as well in that picture right there. George gets around Chris Fowler.
Fowler's got rear wing damage on my screen.
Chris Fowler has rear wing damage on the broadcast as well. That is interesting. On board with Trevor Malone.
I mean, you don't want wing damage, period. I feel like if there's 2 places you especially don't want wing damage, is it's here in Iowa.
Right, especially on the back end, yeah.
No one's going to tell Chris. He's just going to send it on in there. That's the driver's spirit. I don't know. It's behind me. I can't see if it's a problem or not.
But it very clearly is a problem as far as his pace goes here, he has. Down the front straightaway. It's interesting. Normally you would think of the rear wing like that would be more of a problem in the corners, but where he's really getting hammered down the straightaway at the end of the front straight, he was 4 miles an hour slower than Trevor Malone. And let's see here, going into turn 3, Trevor Malone also carried pretty similar speeds into 3. So it's the front straight that it's really hurting Chris Fowler right now. And the freight train is on. Here's Bobby Mikes. He's going to bring Mardi Gras with him as well.
Yeah, you kind of get ganged up there, especially with the weakness that gets discovered at this point in the race. Getting a report. Jason. Classic Jason Bossy with a little bit of a Christmas tree flick going on up there. It seems like it may have settled out. So for your, and I will say this, shout out to the Jason Bossy fan club that comes in and hangs out with us on these race nights. It started with, I believe, one, and now I think that he might have half of a county rooting him on each and every single week. So shout out to the fan club for the Bossies. That's awesome to see in the virtual world like that. You know, you see it in the real world, but to see it kind of come together in the digital world in 2020 with so much, fun stuff going on. It makes you feel a little bit nice to kind of see. I'll tell you what, it's not so nice behind Dean Mall because Otis is there. Mall is trying to get around Chris Fowler, and he's finally going to get him going through 1 and 2 here. Otis is kind of dealing with his own battles here, and then he's got Rasmus who's going to try to leapfrog him here. But Rasmus, you get that big run, he's got nowhere to go. He's going to try to come up top, but the grip isn't there, but he's got clean air. That could be a pivotal shift here as we move on, but now Rasmus, Rasmus kind of cleared himself up. Otis realizing very early on in the race he probably didn't need to be that aggressive defending that spot.
Ryan's generally pretty good at realizing when the hornet's nest is swarming and backing off. And just as I say that, what do you do?
Full attack.
Calvin, let me show you what you're talking about here. What you really meant to say was I was just going to send it.
Yeah, but see, then he got caught in the wash there behind that damaged machine. Rasmus, if Rasmus gets any closer, he's going to be bump drafting.
And Chris Fowler went from, and I went and found where the damage came from, Brian. It was on lap 24. So in 10 laps, Chris Fowler has gone from 3rd to 14th and has the parachute out. And you know what happened? He went down into turn 3, and David Clymer got into the back of him. David Clymer, I believe, the same driver, got into the back of Mike Rigney in turns 1 and 2. So Clymer's been right in the middle now of a couple of almost lows, and both Rigney and Fowler did phenomenal jobs saving it. I mean, Fowler had a pretty equal save to Rigney, but it was down in turn 3 and 4. Let's check in with Mardi Gras and Matt Houston.
It's a good battle. Dean trying to get inside lane advantage there. But Houston being able to get that big run down the front stretch. Let's go on board with Mardi Gras looking over driver's left. Trying to take a little bit lower lane because especially trying to get some clean air to the nose. But then as you get to corner exit there, starts to wash out. Jason, of note, I believe the sun is pretty much officially behind the grandstands because only right down the front stretch for probably a gap in there is where you see any sunlight. More importantly, in the corners, we are completely shaded over. So as the driver, you're watching this. So let's get inside Dean's brain here. You're seeing the track change. You know that the track's coming down. How does that change your driving style?
Well, I think it would make me a little more aggressive because you're going to get more grip. But remember, sometimes these cars actually don't like grip. So the track temperature going down could almost make this car harder to drive if it's already a tight race car. And we see the air temp is down a degree, but the track temp has not changed yet, Brian. And we all know this car, the longer you run, you get it on old tires, and that's when it really starts to kind of be good, so to speak. And right now, we're still pretty early on, lap 37 out of 120 as we check back in with your leader, Sage Karam. And his lead has stayed pretty steady at about 3/4 of a second over Aaron Morgan there. But I really think that's going to be the thing to watch in this race is the track might almost tighten up. And now the entire front stretch is in shade. So we're officially shaded on the entire racetrack here, Yaz. And I think that might actually hurt these guys for a little bit. And then you'll see it kind of kick in once the tires wear a little more.
Hey, so what you're telling me is that at the end of this race, with the drivers are going to be most on the steering wheel, the track is going to be potentially at its grippiest.
That is exactly how it should play out in theory. Good thing we don't get rain here, by the way. But there's some nasty looking Midwestern clouds out in the distance. Man, if you ever been to this racetrack for an event, you're never safe. The NHRA runs here in September usually, and when I was there last year, man, it was like 93 with like 93% humidity and no clouds. It was just muggy as could be. And then I walked outside 5 minutes later, and I thought a hurricane hit. So,
That's about
of
right.
course, you live in Michigan, so that's probably like everyday summer for you, right?
I think that was like yesterday.
Yeah, that makes sense. In California, we haven't seen the sun in 6 weeks, so.
Well, it really, you need to keep your smoke on your side of the mountain, because now that's affecting my Michigan, my Michigan sunrise.
Look at all these cars back here as Ryan Otis continues to try to pick his way up. Boy, he has taken his time, though. This is for 12th. He gets around Ryan Corns. Mike Rigney had that big save earlier. It knocked him out of the top 10, though, when he had that contact with David Clymer. Is trying to come as well. But here's Corns looking to cross over Otis down into turn 1.
He's going to try, but I just, the top lane, like I kind of mentioned at the front end of the broadcast, you get that top lane wound up in these machines, and it gets really hard to really fight from the bottom. Now, if you can maybe get close and get that run into 3, that's kind of where your opportunity's at. But that top lane is just, it's just God mode, basically. Remember you get that fancy little star in Mario? That's kind of what the top lane is, coming off of turn 2 when you get it right.
Yeah, been a while since I've even thought about that. Here's HyperX on board with Mike Rigney. Lap 42 down in turns 3 and 4. Mike's in 14th right now. The surprise winner of the year in the Lionheart Racing Series powered by HyperX. It came at the IndyCar race at Pocono 2 events ago for the IndyCar. It feels like that's been 5 or 6 weeks. In fact, it probably has been when Mike used the great power of fuel mixture setting number 5 and the clutch, and was able to save more fuel than everybody else and capture his first win. A well-deserved win. I always hate it when people want to classify a win with, but it was a fuel-saving race. Last time I checked, it's the first car to get to the end of the lap that is designated as the end of the race. Doesn't really matter how you get there.
It was up in the win column all the same.
Saying on that night, Mike Rigney was better than anybody in the league when it mattered most in his last stint. So he is officially in the win books over in the IndyCar Series, and I know he'd love to do the same thing here in the Retro Series, but man, I think tonight he'd be happy just bringing it home with all 4 corners on the car after that save he had earlier. And he's got Mike Rasmus bearing down on him.
Rasmus hasn't been able to cut through the traffic as well as Otis. He kind of he got hung up really behind the rear wing damage that had bestruck Chris Fowler. He just every single place that Mike was moving, Chris was in the same lane, and then there was another car to the inside. So Mike,
in fairness, even Otis though, it's only up to 12th.
Yeah, but
after
that's still
restarting in 15th. I mean, he's made a couple of moves, but it's not like he's been
I only mentioned that because remember at one point Rasmus actually leapfrogged Otis
on the restart. You're right. You're right.
Otis leapfrogged him back. That's where you've seen that gap set in.
See Ryan Otis 12 seconds or so back from Sage Karam for the race lead, but if one yellow was not enough to cut this down to a one-stop race, and I'm going to guess based on Otis and half the field pitting that many people don't believe it will be, Ryan Otis theoretically is in the catbird seat here as the highest running car to have hit pit road. In fact, Ryan Otis is the only driver who has passed anybody on the track aside from Chris Fowler. Fowler dropped all the way back because of damage. If you look at the standings, Ryan Otis is ahead of Ryan Corns and Mike Rigney, who did not pit, and then everybody behind them are cars that pit. And you're on board with Chris Fowler. And man, do you feel bad for Chris, who, by no fault of his own, it looked like, picked up that rear wing damage, and an incident with David Clymer. It almost looked like it had some netcode involved, and that car is just dog slow. And he is only about the length of the front straightaway now, ahead of the leader, Sage Karam. And last time by, lapped about a half a second slower than Sage. So time is running out for a caution that would save Chris from going a lap down. Of course, the other thing with this car, Brian, is it does not change your front or your rear wing. It's not how it worked back in the late 70s.
No, they haven't. iRacing hasn't modeled the crew to jump over the wall with a bunch of hammers and beat it back out, like it was back in the day.
Well, yeah, I don't know if that would work too well on a wing on a high downforce oval though. That would be. I wouldn't want to be the guy who had to drive the race car after the crew beat it back out.
Well, F1 back in the 60s and the 70s, that was a bit of. Go research what F1 was like.
Yeah.
Back before about, I don't know, what would you say, 1990?
Just go watch Rush, really. I mean, you want.
Well, if you want Rush,
idea.
that's the Hollywood version. There's actually a really good Formula One documentary called One. You can get it on Amazon Prime.
Phenomenal.
It's actually on Amazon Prime. About 2 hours. Get some popcorn. Get your favorite beverages. Sit down. Watch it. You'll be thanking yourself 2 hours later.
Really, really good stuff.
Back
Bobby
to Gateway.
Mike's goes purple. 28.876.
Whoa.
Hey, remember Bobby Mike's at Iowa, man? Bobby came on the end of that race, and I think that he had like 5 more laps. He might have won the darn thing. He just came out of nowhere.
He's just on it. Like, it's just great to see at the end of these runs.
On board with Bobby here.
I think, and you're seeing the glimpses of what we know Bobby can do. I think most of last year it was a lot of bad luck in instances that just were far out of his control. But now you kind of see, as we kind of marched down this year, that luck started to follow. But now recently, I think he's kind of shred that away a little bit. Looking at a good battle in front of him for the position.
That is the battle for 7th as Trevor Malone continues to hold off Paul Jenkins. And Bobby has climbed right up into that battle now. George Gonzalo's got to be looking out left and right side of his mirrors going, keep at it, boys. Sage Karam to pit road. Sage Karam on pit road, your leader.
And George, that's a little bit less.
Whoa, boy, that's not anywhere close to 58 laps, and we had a caution, Yaz.
Ooh.
Boy, if that doesn't tell the story, then nothing will. Although I got to tell you, based on that math, 55 gets you to 110. I mean, Sage and all these guys are going to have a second pit stop based on this.
Yeah, you're looking at the numbers. That was 55 with 3 laps of caution. You got 65 laps to go.
So you figure maybe they can get to 107 or 108, which tells me that puts Ryan Otis. Ryan Otis is 10 laps from coming in, 65. They can't go 50. You can't go 55, not based on what we just saw.
It's going to get a little interesting, I sense, before the end of
Look
this
at
one.
all the cars who are on now, and these are cars who would have been saving fuel in traffic. So let's see who stays out the longest, Yaz. That might be, if you get somebody who can run 1 or 2 more laps, that might be the difference.
I'm not surprised at the group that's out there right now. The longest.
Paul Jenkins, Dean Mull, and Mike Rigney.
Mike Rigney. There's Jenkins to pit road. That is going to give the lead back over to Otis. I think Mardi Gras went with him. What's the...
Did Rigney stay out another lap? Oh, my.
I want the
fuel.
00 examined. I don't know how he does this
Here
weekend.
we go with Mike Rigney, who's coming to pit road. Out of the second position.
But hey, that
boy.
I mean, 58, 59. You're going to come back around with 60, 61 to go.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Yes, it doesn't work.
What if but if you're Rigney,
more than half.
I'm just saying, if you're Rigney,
more than half of the race, and they already ran yellow laps, it doesn't work. He's 5 laps short. He's 5 or 6 short at this point. Now, where I tell you where it works for Mike is if everybody else pits again, based on what he's done here, we got a caution, everybody pits. He might be able to stay out and run it to the end from there. That would be the one thing.
Yeah, it could be that he's just driving through a window. He knows he might not make it, but hey, you get to that window to save it. Because that's where he's at right now. He's going to be in that window where maybe you could stretch it. Maybe you're right around in fifth gear, you coast it.
One more yellow probably gets Mike there. I don't think it really gets anybody else there, based on what we just saw. Boy, how about this? Ryan Otis and Mike Rasmussen went to first and second with some clean air, and what they do, they went purple a second apart from each other. 8.54 and an 8.28 for Rasmus. Woo! Smoking around Gateway.
Oh, and he's coming off of turn 2, looking down the road, and he's seeing Ryan Otis and Dustin Wardlow with a squabble over track position. All that's doing is giving it's holding up Otis, but I think now going into turn 3, I think the Candyman gave him a nice big, a lot of room
those
there.
Are teammates.
Yeah.
Teammates, and also it's interesting though because that puts Wardlow a lap down, and Otis on lighter fuel now should be able to run away from him and probably go put others a lap down as well. So that's not what Dustin Wardlow was looking for. It's interesting to note Sage Karam, because they'd opened up such a lead on Ryan Otis, stays on the lead lap after pitting, as does Aaron Morgan and so far David Clymer. And Otis able to get around Jason Bossy now, although Bossy's doing a heck of a job trying to hold him off. It won't work. Otis gets by him off of 2. Here comes Bossy trying to battle back though. And here comes Rasmus around Wardlow, creeping up into that picture as you mentioned, yeah.
Getting that bit between his teeth. I think this is where you're going to see this fuel strategy work out. There are 54 laps right now Otis has on that tank. 57 laps to go. If we're watching, the window's open. Any one of those drivers can hit pit road at any moment. But I guarantee you there's going to be somebody, and I think I might know who it might be. Tommy Ryan and Finian and Ricky Hart. I bet you those guys, they know, okay, I don't need to go up there and race with Ryan. And Mike, I'm going to hang back in fourth gear and not downshift all the time. I'm going to hang back and try to save some fuel. I bet you those guys are going to go one lap further, and when it's really going to matter here, that's where that little advantage is going to come around. You kind of play the short game now to lose, but try to get that long play down the road.
Wait, how much is fuel worth, you wonder? As far as lap times, Ryan Otis last time by 28.91. The car in front of him is David Clymer, 29.25, and Otis is all over Clymer now, which would leave only 2 cars on the lead lap of the cars who just completed their pit cycles. And you're on board with Tommy Ryan. And here comes Otis.
Pit road.
Here comes Ryan Otis.
Here's the first domino to fall on that strategy. Mike Rasmus stays out.
Well, remember, Mike Rasmus made fuel numbers work that just seemed like they were straight out of a movie last week at Iowa. He came up a couple laps short of last race at Iowa, I should say. So now let's see how long Rasmus can keep it going.
It's gonna get real interesting.
James Paulson and Tyson Landis are on pit road as well. Here's Rasmus.
Ricky Harden on pit road. Finian. Tommy Ryan called it, staying out. So now I'd say Tommy is good, no matter what. Tommy's good. Ryan, you could say he could be close, but anybody that probably pitted that last go-around is probably also 90% in the good as well.
I think Ryan Otis, I guess it's close based on where they pitted. He might have had to come there, but I feel like he would have done his best to try and save and stretch another lap out of it if he thought he was going to be, short to the end of the race at this point. It didn't make sense. Just didn't make sense for me to pit on lap 10, lap 11 when they did, if you didn't know you were good for one stop from there on out. You get what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, no, hey, because we're looking at that first fuel number, that first caution, they made 55. Now these guys that just stayed out, like Tommy Ryan was 58, but I guarantee that car was sputtering getting to the box. So round that back down to 57. That puts you right on that ballpark, and that was, remember, with the caution for about 2 pace laps, which buys you roughly about 1 full lap. So we'll see what happens here in the next 52 laps. Sage Karam has cycled back out to the front. He's got Aaron Morgan going to wrap around into the second spot. David Clymer going to be third. Classy Jason Bossy, shout out to the fan club, going to round out to the top to the fourth spot. And that should move the Candyman into the top 5 as well. Interesting of note, Rasmus has leapfrogged Otis. Not for long. Otis fighting back on the inside, going down into turn 1. Let's get a look at this battle. Crossover. You're going to watch this battle getting down here into turn 3. Rasmus going to take it up high, then swoop it down low, get himself clear. Now the big thing, slide up the track, kind of defend that top lane because you know it's going to come with the run. Here comes Otis. Rasmus trying to move all around the front stretch. Otis getting a big run down the front stretch. Here we go. Down into turn 1 again.
They were real close to touching there at one point.
Oh, Otis isn't clear. Here comes Rasmus with the run. Shot out of a cannon. Move Rasmus up in front of Otis. Otis going to fight back into turn 3, using a little bit of side draft, if that's a thing from the 79, but it looks like it was a thing.
Great
Fantastic
racing here. 49 laps to go here at the 1.25 mile Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway Motorsports Park. And Rasmus! Ooh. Remember, one of them's the points leader and the other one's not running for points. Take that for what it's worth.
I'm Rasmus. I got nothing to lose.
Boy, Mike Rasmus. You couldn't fit a paper clip between his right sides in the wall that time off of turn 4. Otis dives it down again. Otis could put the slide job on and will. No, he decides to keep it low.
Roundabout way, these guys are kind of slide or swap drafting.
In a roundabout way. It's almost like every other lap, though.
From an interesting standpoint, Rasmus ran a 29.18. Sage was a 29.11. So they're not really hurting themselves that drastically by doing this. Rasmus gets the run off of 2, clears himself up. Here comes Otis with the charge. Jenkins back there looking on, going, guys, can we kind of settle this out, please?
Rasmus went very high in 3 and 4. I don't think he planned to do that, yes.
Yeah, but here comes that big run down the front stretch.
Not going to get there, though. He was too high in 3 and 4.
Ah, yeah. You can see where the idea was at. Swinging out wide, get a big old run down the front stretch, but so close. Now it'd be interesting to see if Rasmus can kind of gather it back up and see if he can make another run at Otis. Out front, not missing much. Sage Karam, Aaron Morgan, and David Clymer rounding out your podium right now. That's still the battle up there, but remember, those drivers do have to come to pit road one more time, whereas the drivers that we're spotlighting right now are probably potentially good to the end of this race.
.44 laps left in the HyperX 150 here at Gateway Motorsports Park, Worldwide Technology Raceway. Dustin Wardlow just called out. Is he coming to pit road? Couldn't hear what he was saying. No, he kept going. I think he was just saying thank you. Scott Holmes, who got out of the way of the battle between the Candyman and Jason Bossy. Sage Karam up front. Sage and Ryan Otis, Sage has led more laps in this one, but they've effectively split the lead based on their pit strategies here in this one. And Sage right now carries a 5-second advantage over Aaron Morgan. It's Sage Karam. Let's run through the lineup here with 42 to go. Sage Karam, Aaron Morgan, David Clymer, Dustin Wardlow, and classy Jason Bossy. Dustin Wardlow, your highest gainer inside the top 10 right now. He's up 7 spots from 11th to 4th since the start of this race. Pole sitter Ryan Otis in 6th, Mike Rasmus, Paul Jenkins, Bobby Mikes, George Anzaldo, your top 10. Let's ride on board with the Candy man. Pit lane parlay onboard camera for the Dwarves Candy Ice Cream and Chews Machine out of Bakersfield, California. Dustin Wardlow, runner-up at this race 1 year ago to Mark Cohn. Race that ended under yellow, so he didn't get a chance to go up and try to take the win, and having a solid run so far in this one, up there in the 4th position, and he is on the one stop so far pit strategy. That is to say that he most definitely will need to stop again, barring a flurry of cautions, and furthermore, those cautions would have to come sooner than later. You can't get them all when you only have 6 laps of fuel left in the tank. So Wardlow right now really hoping and praying that this thing goes green to the end and everybody who's already pit twice somehow also ends up short. Otherwise, the way it cycles through, it would kick a lot of these guys pretty far back, believe it or not.
I mean, essentially, if you're looking at the standings, essentially it's just going to flip-flop. It's from top to bottom, kind of like an hourglass resetting.
Now, Otis and Rasmus have done a nice job of kind of maneuvering their way around some of the one-stoppers so far. So they're up to 6th and 7th. They're the 2 highest running cars that we believe are good to go. Then there's Paul Jenkins, Bobby Mikes, George and Zaldo. They've all only pit 1 time. It's also interesting to note here, Yaz, you go farther back and like 11th as we look at here, Finian, Ricky Harden, and Richie Hearn, they've all come twice. So they're all good to go. There's a group of 5 or 6 cars behind them who've only come once. So these guys have done a nice job of playing this game as well, the Finian, Richie combo here. Finian and Richie neither qualified. They're up 14 and 13 spots, which make them the hard chargers. But in the world of GSRC lead commentator Bill Soupzon, we do not count drivers who intentionally start at the back for hard charger reward, because darn it if that ain't fair. You know who does count that though, Yaz?
Who does?
DraftKings. There's your Al Michaels Gamblers Insider here. When you're setting your NASCAR lineup, go ahead and take the drivers who start at the very back. Get passing points. Passing points are good.
And kind of what we're seeing. So if you're Sage Karam, you're Aaron Morgan, and a lot of the drivers that are still maybe staring down another pit stop, I got bad news for you. Everybody's pretty well spaced out on the track. I'm going through it. I don't think there's 2 cars within like 5 car lengths of each other. So in terms of what you might see mistakes, contact wise, not really helping the cause right there.
One caution in this race came on lap number 9 when Chris Tagg spun going into turn 1. He collected Matt Taylor in that incident. Taylor tried to limp it around for another 6 laps, and it just didn't work out. Sam Crow has also retired in 25th, and Chris Fowler now, after starting in 5th and running up there in the top 3, is also out of this race. He finally parked that damaged race car after the contact with David Clymer. Mardi Gras to pit road. Is this the first in the dominoes that start to fall for the 2-stoppers? Or does Mardi Gras have a problem?
Mardi Gras might have a problem. He's 4 laps off. Go see if I can dig up what happened. Mardi Gras.
He has been there for a while. I don't see damage on that race car. He catch the wall?
Yep. Big time. Caught the wall off of 2.
And brought it straight to pit road.
It was one of those hits that if you got enough force feedback in it, like if you're using an AccuForce, you'd feel it.
Right. I've felt those. AccuForce user here. Know exactly what you're talking about. Battle for 6th.
Lotus and Rasmus.
6th, 7th, and 8th, because Paul Jenkins is there as well. With the lapped car, Scott Holmes behind them.
And then just that bright orange car was Bobby Mike.
Yeah, it's not quite time for him to go yet. When we get to 12 to go, he'll somehow pass 15 cars here. He only needs to pass 8, but he'll find a way to pass 15.
Well, actually, where he's running right now, he's only going to need to pass about 4.
It's also a good point.
4 is less than 8. Hashtag man.
Bobby's also on the only pit once strategy so far, so he's actually in trouble here. The only cars in the top 10 who we believe are good are your points leader, Ryan Otis and Mike Rasmus. Then the next cars in that group would be Ricky Harden and Finney, and they're in 11th and 12th, and then Richie Hearn, who's in 14th. Trevor Malone actually just went around Richie in the 13th position back there. And I've got to imagine that we're at least getting in the ballpark here. Maybe we're about 10 laps away, Yaz. Sage came on lap 55. We had 4 laps really in reality with the cooldown lap of caution. And so you figure under green, you can go maybe 53, we'll call it.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that one.
So we think maybe 107, 106, 107 is when we'll start seeing guys come to pit road. And we're currently on lap 93, 28 laps to go.
And here's what's something going to be interesting is, and I think Sage, when he makes his green flag pit stop, he might end up in and amongst the 70, the 5, all those drivers that are hanging out back there. Ryan Cords, another one back there. There's a big gaggle, and I'm kind of trying to eyeball the pit delta because it's roughly about 30 seconds. So you figure you kind of look back around that gap, and that's about where they're at. So they're not going to need a whole ton of fuel when they come down the pit road, so you can kind of eliminate that barrier. Probably only a splash and go, so call that maybe second in the box. Could be very, very interesting to see how Sage, when this does cycle out, how he's going to have to kind of scrap back through the ulterior strategies. The ulterior strategy drivers, plus some of the slower traffic that's still floating around out there. He could, I mean, potentially, he could still salvage a top 10 on it. Just kind of looking at overall pace and gaps and distances. New fastest lap. Ladies and gentlemen, fan club. I just heard the fan club rear up there for classy Jason Bossy. Purple on screen. There we go. Let's get it for the fan club there. Jason Bossy just ripping off the purple fastest lap of the race. Shout out to the fans out there. Did he just do it again? He just did it again. See, that's how you know that's a good driver for you, fans. He knew we were looking at him and said, hey, guys, watch this. Come on, can we go 3 for 3? Let's go 3 for 3. He's got the draft. It might happen. What was the last rep? 78. Let's see here. Coming off of turn 4, high, wide, handsome, out by the wall.
He let you down, yeah. He let you down.
It's all right.
All that pressure you put on him. It's the announcer's curse.
Well, I think, unfortunately, the announcer's curse may have scared off Bruno. I see Bruno Miranda.
Oh, Bruno. Man, you talk about somebody who, man, Bruno Miranda could walk into a field that was totally empty and find a way to get struck by lightning, man.
Bruno Miranda would be on a desert island, and a bottle would wash ashore that says, we're trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty.
How many of those phone calls you get today?
I've sent at least 4 of them to junk mail, so we'll see what happens, or voicemail. So.
I got 2 today. That was exciting. "21 laps to go when Sage Karam crosses the stripe this time, which means we will officially be on to lap 100, and there is Sage across the line. And so the pit stop watch is on for your race leader. and championship contender.
Let's take a look at a battle that sounds more like a law course. Morgan and Clymer here around the speedway. Clymer just trying to hang on there. Morgan, we probably haven't said his name, only in the, just in kind of the rundown. We haven't really had a chance to sit down and talk to him. Aaron Morgan out there, he just silently goes about his business. He shows up at the end of the race. Then all of a sudden you look at the top 5 with about 20 to go and you go, where did the 48 car come from? Much like, the NASCAR holder of that same number. Just all of a sudden, when the money is on the line, where you got to be, there he is. Unfortunately, I say that now, but he is going to have to stop one more time.
And sooner than later, we believe. 18 to go as Sage Karam crosses the line. And I thought I saw a car on pit road that last time by. Trevor Malone has pit. And so Trevor becomes the first of the cars that we believe need the pit still to come down. And he is down and away.
Getting a little bit of the ambiance here. iRacing adds new sounds into the game with the simulation, with the newer builds. So if you're listening in the garage, especially on a pair of HyperX headphones, which I truly recommend, you get to hear the ambiance going on out there. So you kind of hear that wide angle. You hear everything going on. Road America, you're going to hear the nature sounds. We were at the Roval in another league that I was in this week, and I was here in the garage. I was hearing the murmur, like you'd be at the track and you hear the radio guys talking, but you couldn't hear what they were saying, but you knew they were making noise. So I thought that was neat, because you just kind of sit back in the chair and close your eyes and listen, and makes you think you're at a speedway. So kudos to iRacing.
And what you learned by eavesdropping on the iRacing. Hey, never mind. Forget that conversation. You know what I just learned?
What's that?
New race leader, Sage Karam to pit road. And so here we go. Let's see how this works out. Sage on the binders, gets it rode up.
Let's say there's they're 52. So that's a green flag run of 52.
Look at this. This is for the lead on your screen. Aaron Morgan and David Clymer into turn 1, wheel to wheel.
Guys, I don't think it's going to be as a layup as we were thinking. That was 52 laps on a tank of gas for Sage Karam. 52.
Clymer and Morgan are staying out again. So maybe the difference between battling in a pack and leading and clicking off laps as Sage did, and Dustin Wardlow stayed out behind him as well. So did Jason Bossy. So Sage came in a little early maybe. Either that or he really just ran it out. Boy, look at Morgan drive that thing into the corner. Man, Kyle Larson's sprint car wobble for Aaron Morgan. And look at the line to come to pit road. Wardlow stays out. Whoa, I thought Wardlow was coming. Maybe he was just trying to get the draft. Wardlow ducked back out. Here's Morgan and Clymer. Wardlow and Bossy stay out. 12 to go.
If it feels like the intensity has picked up, boys and girls, it absolutely has. You have all these ulterior fuel strategies going on, and the battle for what we assume is going to be the race lead is actually the battle for P3 right now. That's Ryan Otis. Mike Rasmus wants it. Paul Jenkins just hanging on back there. Maybe they'll get together and Jenkins could steal one.
Wardlow stays out another lap. Mike Rigney on the radio. Is he coming? Rigney was the one guy. Rigney is. We thought Rigney might be able to really stretch this out, Yaz. And instead, he's in before even Wardlow, who's coming this time. And Bossy will bring it with him.
Now the battle does shift off. That's 54 laps for Wardlow and Bossy. This is going to be tight. I promise this is going to be very, very tight because you're looking at Otis. 45 laps in this tank of fuel. We just crossed the 10 laps to go. 55 again. We only saw that number with a caution, and we've had no cautions yet. 10 to go. This ain't over yet, boys and girls.
Paul Jenkins stays out again. He is yet to come to pit road. Paul Jenkins, the last car to make his second pit stop. He's still only pit once. And this, Brian, you're talking about how many laps can you make it? This is the 54th lap for Paul Jenkins.
And the last
coming
one
this time to pit road.
on track.
So Jenkins does make it 55, Brian.
Remember, 55 to 57, that was pretty much the window that all these guys hit the pit road last time. So, I think Tommy Ryan, potentially Tommy Ryan. No, Tommy Ryan can't win this race because Sage Karam just got in front of him.
Yes.
So now this could flip back over to the other side where Sage Karam could steal it back.
Ryan Otis hit pit road a lap earlier than all these other cars as well, and he is leading Rasmus. So it's Rasmus who's saving the fuel, not Otis.
I'm kind of listening in on Rasmus to see if he's doing any other tricks. No, he's shifting down to third. He is all over it. No fuel saving out of the 68.
8 to go, 7 to go, 7 to go.
So looking out. So close to your first Lionheart win. Just go up there and pass Ryan Otis. Go ahead. Just go try it. Good luck. It's the moments where you have to sit on the hot stove and sweat ice water. This is the moments that champions are made of. Otis trying to keep that advantage, weaving up and down the front stretch, trying to break that draft back to Rasmus. Worked a little bit on the lap time, about half a tenth, keeping just enough of a gap to keep Rasmus from just absolutely yeeting it into turn 3. Five laps to go here. Worldwide Technology Raceway, Gateway Motorsports Park. Ryan Otis, championship leader, defending series champion as well. Overall, good guy. He's got it right now, the number 1 car in the number 1 spot, but does he have number 1 fuel? That's going to be the question that we're going to have to sort out here over the next 4 and some change miles. Weaving back and forth down the front stretch. Rasmus just trying to get any sniff of draft to get to the rear wing of Otis, but he's just not close enough to make it work as they work their way down the backstretch one more time.
It's 1 and 2 where Ryan Otis is really so much better than Mike Rasmus, and you can see the gap open up, and then Rasmus starts to reel him back in with the draft down the back straightaway in 3 and 4, especially here on the front straight. Look at that gap shrink and shrink and shrink, but then you get down to turns 1 and 2, and Otis just able to get back to the power so much quicker than Rasmus. Oh, did Otis catch the wall there?
That was close.
Oh, man, I thought Ryan Otis took the wall.
3 laps to go, boys and girls. Ricky Harden to the 3rd spot. Finian in 4th. Richie Hearn in 5th. I don't think we've said his name since the intros.
Otis did not touch the wall. I just went and looked, and there's 2 laps to go. If you're in the Ryan Otis fan club, get your nail file out. And if you're in the Mike Rasmus fan club, got to be hoping and praying for a sputter out of that number 1 car. Into 3 and 4. 1 lap to go for your points leader and defending series champion, Ryan Otis, the Oregon native. Trying to bring it home. He needs to make it 1.25 miles if he wants to pick up the win here for the first time in his career at Gateway. Down the back straightaway. Otis is out of fuel.
Otis is
Ryan
out.
Otis is out of fuel. Mike Rasmus to the lead.
I told
Ryan
you.
Otis out of fuel. And
Told
Mike
you.
Rasmus through turns 3 and 4. And for the first time in his Lionheart career, Mike Rasmus goes to victory lane here at Gateway. Second place goes to Ricky Harden. Finian gets third. Richie Hearn fourth. And look at Otis creeping across the line and hangs on for fifth. And it's a miracle at that. Ryan Otis mitigates the damage by somehow finishing ahead of Sage Karam despite running out of fuel halfway down the back straightaway. And for the first time, yeah, you do those victory donuts, Mike Rasmus. Finally, the rookie finds victory lane here in the Lionheart Series. And we'll talk to him when we return here on the iRacing Esports Network and the Global SimRacing Channel. A crazy finish to an unpredictable race here at Gateway. The HyperX 150 is in the books, and for the first time in his career, Mike Rasmus takes the checkers here in the Lionheart Series. Welcome back to the Global SimRacing Channel and the iRacing Esports Network, and to the HyperX post-race show, the Lionheart Racing Series powered by HyperX. You're trying to claw your way to the top of the podium. It pays to have an ultra-comfortable, high-quality headset gives you the audio information you need to grab the checkered flag. High-performance DRAM and SSDs, to outstanding microphones, accurate mice, responsive keyboards, the legendary cloud line of gaming headsets, HyperX, thanks to gaming gear you need to succeed. Casual or pro, no matter your creed, color, or culture, we're all gamers. HyperX knows we are always ready to game. Use the promo code LionHRT15 at HyperXGaming.com. Don't worry, though. If you don't have HyperX headphones for the next segment, we're going to put up the Turn Racing finishing order so you can see it. Turn Racing, merging the gap between real and sim racing. Promo code's Lionheart10, turnracing.com. There it is, Mike Rasmus. Boy, you look in the record books, a win's a win, and it's going to look like he just beat the snot out of them, but he didn't lead until the final, about 800 feet of this race. Beats Ricky Harden, Finian DeCunia in third, Richie Hearn and Ryan Otis clutching it and coasting it. Comes home in fifth. Little Train, Lionel Callisto in sixth. Then it's Sage Karam, Tommy Ryan, Tyson Landis, David Clymer, your top 10.
In the 11th spot, classy Jason Fossey. Paul Jenkins in 12th, first car, one lap down. Go to Bobby Mikes back there in the unlucky 13th spot with series founder George Anzaldo in the 14th spot. 15th going to Ryan Corns. Trevor Malone, 16th and 17th going to Mike Eleanor Rigney. 18th to James Paulson, the Candyman, Dustin Wardlow. 2 laps down. I feel like there was we missed something there with Dustin. In the 19th spot, 20th to Aaron Morgan.
Scotty Holmes, Matt Houston, the last 2 cars running. Then it's Dean Mardi Gras Mall, caught the wall. Chris Fowler had that rear wing damage. Sam Crow, Matt Taylor, and Chris Tagg, those 2 were in the first wreck. The only caution of the race came way early on in this one. Let's take you to the Sim Experience victory lane and talk to our drivers. The Sim Experience AccuForce steering system, the most advanced tuning features on the market. The AccuForce Direct Drive, second only to the real thing. Check out the entire line of Sim Experience products at simexperience.com. Mike, it was so close at Iowa on fuel tonight. You flipped the script, and for the first time in 7 starts, you are a winner in the Lionheart Retro Series presented by the DMLC Racing Channel. Did you realize Ryan was that close to making it?
Yeah, I figured he was real close. I didn't know if he was saving her at all, though, so I was still trying to race him pretty hard. I think it's kind of funny because coming out of 2 the last lap, I kind of scraped the wall. I figured it was over, so I just sent it. And then coming down the back straight, he was slowing up, and I was like, oh, it's my chance. And it was, and we did it. So, yeah, happy to be here.
Congratulations, man. You've been so good. This is your 5th top 5 finish, your 6th top 10 in 7 career starts in this series. I mean, the only thing that slowed you down so far was coming up a couple laps short in that gamble at Iowa, and you've just been knocking on the door every week. It's your first win on an oval track. You came into here as the road racing expert. His only oval experience was Indy. How surprised are you that your first checkered comes on a circle track?
Surprised, but also, you got to understand that it was mostly a fuel run. I mean, you got to keep it together during the races, which is something that I'm pretty good at. Not sure I'm that great at winning them, but yeah, the fuel mileage thing really came down to it at the end, and just learning these tracks each week is pretty challenging, but it's fun when you kind of start to figure it out.
You should give yourself a little bit more credit. You've pretty consistently on the ovals even been running up there with the likes of Ryan and Sage, and those are 2 drivers who are as good as it gets on this service and open wheel cars, regardless of the style of racing or whatnot here. You get your first win tonight. You talk about maybe not being as good at winning them. I'm a pretty big believer that once you figure out how to get that monkey off your back, things can start to happen real quick. And next week, quick turnaround, we head to another oval, this time a big one in Michigan. Last time we were at a really big oval was Indy, and you fared pretty well there as well. What are your thoughts heading into Michigan?
I'm pretty excited to go there. I think it's going to be a really fun race. Probably a lot more drafting going on than here. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to learning these tracks and getting used to it. I think a lot of the success comes down to just driving people with respect and trying to make a show and enjoy yourself, but also not get into too many people's way at the same time. Makes it really fun.
Well, congratulations, Mike. It's been so much fun watching you race. You've brought a whole nother level of excitement and excellence to this series since you joined a couple months ago. And you're finally able to knock off your first of what I'm sure is going to be several wins here in the Lionheart Retro Series. And you did it in style. You beat the champ on the last lap. Great job.
Thank you.
Mike Rasmus, your winner here tonight in a wild and wacky finish. And Brian, last race at Iowa, we had this guy's teammate who snuck up there and finished in second. And tonight, Ricky Harden's going to take a bow.
You talk about wild and wacky drivers. Here's Ricky Harden in the wall machine. Ricky, it's been a minute since we've talked after one of these races. Talk us through your night, bud. Fuel strategy and you guys. It seems to just kind of work out perfectly for you.
Man, it feels like I just won the Indy 500. I can't believe I finished on the podium here. This is unbelievable, dude. I've had such a bad season in the Lionheart. Wow, has
no.
really.
I only say that because Jason and I have been in the booth, so we've seen it. We've seen your season, man. We know what's up. I don't mean any disrespect.
I was saying caveat here. There's a little bit of history with the three of us. We've all been together for a long time. So
yes. So the Heart in the Wall sponsorship has really fit. The branding has fit very well this season, and we haven't had a great season. And today we just, every oval we've been doing the same thing. Our whole team says, "Hey, let's pit every time we get a yellow because we don't have the pace to get up there in the top 5, except for Tommy at New Hampshire." But I just decided that's what we're going to do. And if we get a green run, we're going to be able to make it. And sure enough, that's what happened. And I actually was surprised that Otis ran out. I wasn't really that close, but I'm not as fast as him. So that explains that. I was 8 seconds behind. So it was great. I'm excited to be here. I don't know what to do with my hands.
Well, I mean, that's a good start. Second spot. I mean, you guys have to kind of go creative. The talent pool here in the Retro Series is pretty deep, so you do have to sometimes take those kind of hairball strategies or off the wall strategies and kind of make them work.
Yeah, I mean, today we did have the pace, though. I mean, when it came down to the end, we were running some of the fastest lap times, and I attribute that to Dean Mall, my teammate. He spent a little bit of time with practice with me, helping me learn the line, because that's been my biggest struggle on ovals, especially with this car. And I'm a decent oval. I like to think I'm a decent oval driver anyway. I'm not that great of a road racer, but I'm okay on the ovals. But this car I've really struggled with figuring out. And I mean, this is the first year I've done them on ovals. So it's been a learning curve. It drives different than most cars do on ovals. So it just takes some time to learn it. And he helped me a lot with the line. And I think we got the line right, and we had the speed at the end.
And being there at the end, that's always the best way to be. Ricky, how you kind of look at the rest of the season, man? We only got a couple weeks left. We got a couple races left. What do you see? Maybe a swing and a shot. We got Michigan coming up. I know you guys like the high, wide, and handsome speedways there.
Absolutely, we definitely have a chance at Michigan. We're going to go out there, and balls to the wall and win that race. That's what we're going to do. We got Spa. The problem is, on the road courses, there's so much talent here. When you say the talent pool is deep, it is really deep on the road courses. So, if we can get a top 10 on a road course, I feel great about that. So Spa, Road America is one that I'm a little bit better at. So I'm definitely shooting for a top 10 there. And then, Auto Club to finish the season. That's another one to look forward to. Those 2 mile ovals, we definitely have a chance. I don't think everybody does. We're great at Indy. I think we had the perfect strategy at Indy, and I think we had a great shot of winning, and then we got taken out in that massive wreck. But we're looking forward to those 2 ovals and top 10s at the roads. I think we can really better our point standings and look a little bit better at the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if you remember, Jason and I ran the series 2 years ago. There's a reason we're up in the booth now.
It is difficult.
Yeah, exactly. Ricky, good talking to you again, buddy. I'll have to hang out in your stream one of these times when I got some time. But good talking to you. Congrats on the second spot, and we'll catch you on down the road.
I appreciate it, guys. Have a good one. Thanks to George for putting this thing together, and HyperX and Sim Experience with my AccuForce wheel. Appreciate all those guys. Y'all have a good one.
Voice of Ricky Harden, Spirit. We always love talking to him, Jason and I. Like I said, that's a big history going back. But Jason, You got Finian in there with you. Let's kind of see his perspective of the night.
Yeah, what a great night it was for Finian DeCoon. It comes home up here on the podium. Finian, third place finish for you in this one. Your season, man, it started up, it kind of went down for a while, and now you're back on the rise and climbing your way back through the points as well. And here you are, back on the podium. Great run. Take me through your night.
Yeah, well, Brian was asking about my perspective. My perspective was pretty much almost entirely looking at my fuel calculator, trying to see if I had enough fuel till the end.
What app do you use? That's what we should have been doing, Yaz. We should have been surveying who uses what app.
I use RaceLab apps, so and it tells me the last like 8 laps, like what my how much fuel I burned. So I was like looking at how much I was burning, if I could save anything, which I really couldn't. I tried everything I could over the course of the run, but I would have had to given up a lot of speed. So I was just kind of hoping, fingers crossed, that I had enough fuel into the end. And I was thinking to myself too before the end of the race, I was like, Otis came in a lap earlier. I wonder if he has enough till the end. And then I heard him that he was running out of on the backstretch. I was like, oh, I have a shot at getting the podium in. I managed to get it.
Yeah, you weren't the only one who was wondering that over the course of the run at the end. Brian and I spent the whole time going, we don't know if he can really make it here or not. Third place is a strong points night here, and I mentioned you'd been up and you've been down. You went up again, you went down again. Picked up 2 spots last race, and if I do my math correctly here in this one, you're going to move up to at least 7th. And that's a big deal here because there's this kind of group of cars between 4th and really Tommy Ryan, who's a couple spots behind you. Man, one race in either direction could really swing this thing for you guys.
Really, it's been a struggle over the summer. Ever since Indy, I lost out on the double points because I got involved in a wreck. So I've been trying to carry back from that. I dropped from, I think, like 5th to 11th. So I've just been trying to make up over the summer. And I've kind of slowly crawled my way back, but definitely got Michigan and then Auto Club, which is the next double points race, circled as a good chance of getting a good finish. I know I did well at Michigan last season, not so much Auto Club. Hopefully to swing that around, and that the road courses hopefully do decently well there.
Can you tell me why you won't qualify?
This track in particular, I just didn't feel like I had any speed, so I didn't. Usually, I don't like to qualify just to kind of hope to keep myself out of trouble, and then slowly work my way after maybe the fields thin down a little bit. So that's typically why I don't. Whether it works or not, I like to say it works out, but I know it could also probably go the other way if I did qualify. So maybe I will start qualifying. It's not a guarantee though.
10-4, but well, congratulations. A great run for you tonight. Your 5th career top 5 finish here in the Retro Series. That's Finian comes home in 3rd, and that is going to wrap it up for us here on GSRC and the iRacing Esports Network. Want to thank the DMLC Racing Channel for sponsoring the Lionheart Retro Series. Go ahead and follow Mark Cohn if you want to be entertained by the 2019 Retro Series Driver of the Year. He will be back at the cockpit. I think, was it next week? Yes, we race Chicago in the IndyCar. We got a doubleheader next week in Lionheart, right?
Yes, sir.
Next week at Chicago. I tell you, Mark's excited about Chicago. I think he's got a good chance running up there.
I'm excited about Chicago.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think our team might have caught on to something in Iowa, so it might be worth following Mark and following up with the LPM team here. HyperX, whatever you play, however you play it, HyperX knows we're all gamers. The promo code is LionHRT15. HyperXGaming.com. Of course, we talked about Sim Experience a lot. Love the AccuForce wheel I have in my rig. It's second only to the real thing. SimExperience.com. And finally, our good friends at Buttkicker. Feel what you've been missing. The promo code is Lion2020 at thebuttkicker.com. Let's get the word of the at the front of it there. Of course, got plenty of other sponsors here in the Lionheart series. Across the board, powered by HyperX, First Medical Equipment, and DMLC Racing Channel. You see them all right there. You can head to LionheartRacingSeries.com. If you want to find out more information about these sponsors. Original music you hear on every GSRC broadcast comes from our good friend June Lalonde. The contact info popping up on your screen right now. And of course, all these other great companies help make this event happen for us. Can't do it without iRacing, this awesome platform they've provided us. The Retro Series returns September 24th. Hey, that's next week. Make your plans. Same time, same place. Round 14 at Michigan. We hope that you will join us right here on the iRacing Esports Network and the Global SimRacing Channel for that one. GSRC's got tons of great broadcasts coming up. Go ahead and hit subscribe on GSRC on YouTube, and also go to Facebook, Global SimRacing Channel. Follow them on social media across the board. Stay up to date with all the great series that they help broadcast. On behalf of our crew tonight, Brian, Sean, and Dougie, I want to thank you all for watching. As Mike Rasimus breaks through and captures his first career win, comes in HyperX Gateway 150. I'm Jason Galvin. Until next time, remember, the only one who remembers when you come home second is your wife and your dog. Good night.